Hey, it's me, Cosmic XG. What are we? Borderlands, and today we are going to be doing our finale for Borderlands.
Well, let's get to it. We got a universe to save.
Yeah, let's go. So today we are doing an end of an era, 3 years in the making since 2019. This game should have been finished 3 years ago, but here we are in 2022. And for such a special occasion, we're going to go ahead and be rating all of the Borderlands games minus Tiny Tina. So I'm going to be rating 1, 2, 3, and pre-sequel. And I know you guys haven't seen me play 2 or pre-sequel, unless you go to the OSGT channel, then you can see that there. But I'm going to be rating them anyways because I've played all of them. Starting with the OG Borderlands 1. Now, I don't know if I should do this total wise and then describe to you guys why it's the total. But I'm gonna go ahead and go. Borderlands 1 for me was a 5 out of 10 total. I didn't start with Borderlands 1, I started with Borderlands 2. So when I went from Borderlands 2 to Borderlands 1, yikes. Yes, yes.
I believe its primary operation to be fairly straightforward. To start, I require the Pandora Vault key.
Okay, there you go. I went from Borderlands 2 to Borderlands 1. So Borderlands 2 was my first Borderlands game. So playing Borderlands 1, going to Borderlands 1 was bland and most of the time kind of boring. And the game was rather quick, so... Plus there was no like centralized villain. I mean, the villain was Atlas. But there was no like... It wasn't like Handsome Jack or like how the Calypso twins are now. So it wasn't as interesting, I should say. Alright, typing, where we going? So overall, I had given Borderlands 1 a 5 out of 10 on my scale. You know, they could have done better. They really changed things up when you get to the aliens towards the end. I'm pretty sure I did a rating for the game at the end of the game when I played it, but I'm not sure what I gave it then, but I kind of retrospectively looking at things, it's not a game that I am dying to go back to, pretty much. Will I ever do the DLCs? Maybe at some point, but don't count on it anytime soon. It's just not a game that I can say that I want to go back to and just play. It's and even the DLCs I heard are not as great anyways, so yeah, not sure. You know, for the start of a franchise, I guess it was pretty good because it was different than what everything else was before it, in a sense. But Borderlands 2 seems to be the real, like, the one that takes it all, so yeah, about a 5 out of 10, I say. At least looking back on it now. I've definitely, I don't remember what I gave it in the series, but if I gave it higher than that, I must have been smoking a pipe or something, because looking back at it, and looking back at my playthrough, because I looked back at the playthrough a little bit, it's just bland. Not the characters are not as thorough or complex as they are in the sequels, in the later games. So Yeah, that's all I gotta say for Borderlands. Oh, the ending was a little bit of a surprise. The When I first played it, the Destroyer, that shit got me because I didn't know there was gonna be a big tentacle alien monster coming out. So I give him props for that. But other than that, not really. Not really a game that I'm dying to go back to. So 5 out of 10 on Borderlands 1. Let's move on
Hey, that looks like
to
one of the
Border.
statues your scientist was talking
Ooh,
about. Give it the key, like an offering.
okay.
The Promethea Vault has been activated.
Hey.
This way, Vault Hunter. Next stop, Eden 6. Paradise my hairy ass, but it does have its charms. Went skinny dipping in a saurian tar pit once. I was hairless for a month.
Yikes. Next up is Borderlands 2. Borderlands 2 probably is my all-time favorite of the franchise. Borderlands 2 has everything. It has comedy. It has hella guns. It has Handsome Jack. The best villain. Bad bitches. Right. Right. Bad bitches. It has everything you could ever want in a video game. And more. Um, Borderlands 2 is basically just upgrading every possible way from Borderlands 1. It's just the best. And it still stands to be my favorite of the franchise so far. It wasn't my first, and granted, it is my first game that I played, Borderlands 2, but not first game of all time. Sorry, that's very confusing. First game in the franchise that I played, Borderlands 2. I joined in pretty late when it came out, though. I didn't get it when it first came out. I think I got it like a year or two after it came out. I think Borderlands pre-sequel was out when I got it. And when I played it, I don't know, it was just different than all the other games I had played. It instantly became like a classic to me, like one of my favorite games of all time. Up there with like Halo, Combat Evolved, and what's some other classic games I consider? And like Pokemon, like those are some of my favorite top games. Borderlands 2 was up there in the scale. Like I give that game, let's see, what's the scale that I would give it? Out of 10? I give it a 9, which is fairly high. A lot of people would disagree with me on that. But I think that game... Huh? I've never played Gears before. I played the first one. I thought that was okay. I played some of the first one. I didn't play the whole game because I didn't really play on Xbox. So Gears of War wasn't like a franchise that I really got into. But Borderlands 2, I give it a 9 out of 10. Now, I learned recently who one of the writers was on that game, and that really intrigued me because I was like, oh, I can tell this is his writing style now. But back then, I had no idea who was the writer, who was all these people. Like, Borderlands 2 was probably one of the first games that introduced me to a lot more things in gaming than other games did. Like, it started to get me into like who are the directors of the game, because I mean back in the day I didn't give a shit at all about who like the scriptwriter, the directors, the voice actors, like all that stuff, until I got to play Borderlands 2. I was like, oh my god, I gotta see who all these people are, because I was like, who's Claptrap? That guy is hilarious. He's annoying and a robot, but he's hilarious. He can't go upstairs. So it's things like that that got me intrigued. And so from every single mission to the side quest to Philippe the flying roof chair, the game just has a bunch of things that shouldn't go together that blend in so well. And the mechanics was one of the first times I really was introduced to a looter shooter. 'Cause I don't think there were many looter shooters out there back when Borderlands 2 was out. Just Borderlands 1, and then I'm trying to think of other ones that came out. Huh? Looter shooter is like what Borderlands is, and it pretty much I guess invented that genre. It's like Borderlands, Destiny, some other games that are trying to do it, like Anthem and what is another? Oh, what's that? What's no, Apex is a battle royale.
Radiance didn't mind a little exercise.
Like looter shooters, like they're first person or third person shooters that you get loot. Like basically you're just doing it all to get a reward. So there wasn't that many. Like there was RPG games, but this is kind of like a mix of the two, right? You get missions, side quests, and all this other stuff. So that's what they call it, a looter shooter. So it's like a mix of an RPG with first person, third person shooting mechanics and stuff like that. Which I guess wasn't that big of a thing before. Oh god. Oh god. Oh god. Until Borderlands, I guess, came out and it kind of became its own genre. And now now we have Destiny and stuff like that. Which Destiny is probably, I think, probably more popular than Borderlands is now. I think Destiny 2 has definitely cemented itself as probably the top looter shooter at the moment. Despite it being a game that, for some reason, can't keep up its pace. And you know, that's a whole separate issue. I'll talk about it another time. But basically, you can kind of get the gist of what a looter shooter is. Yeah, Borderlands 2 was just overall interesting. It had a tight-ass villain, Handsome Jack, who is annoying at first. He's always trying to talk to you and try to kill you, whatever. To depressingly devastating when he kills probably one of my favorite characters in Roland. And it just, from that point on, it's just a race to kill the man. It no longer becomes, well, it's still kind of fun. The game's overall fun, but it then becomes a desperate mission to go and kill the man who killed your leader. Because Roland was great. No matter what anybody says, Roland was fantastic. He was always talking to us, giving us inspiration. He was the leader that people wanted. And so to take him away from us was like heart-wrenching. And so that really fuels your, like, getting you to care about a character and then killing him off really fuels your need to beat the game, because you're like, well, now I gotta kill this fucker. So I guess that's one thing that pulls you into the game. And all the things that Jack does is just like, you hate him more and more as you progress through the game. Like, he does annoying stuff throughout, but then he does like diabolical shit. Like what he does to his daughter. Like, you find out he put his daughter in a cage or whatever, puts a neck thing on her so she can't escape, and it's just really fucked up. So it gets to a point where you're like, yeah, Jack is like the grossest guy, and you gotta go kill him. Which is gonna be taken into account when I compare it to this game, but we'll do that game. We'll do this game last. And I'm trying to think, like, Borderlands 2 is the game, I played it twice because there's a new game plus on it. And it gets harder, that's one thing. Which I hate playing difficult games, but it does get pretty difficult once you get later on. Unless you're good at the game, which I'm not. So no, I suck. I suck at looter shooters. Oh, The Division, that's another one. Division? That's a Ubisoft game. Tom Clancy's Division, yeah. That's another looter shooter. But yeah, that was like one of the games where the first games where I did a new game plus. I didn't even know what the hell a new game plus was. I didn't know you had to play the game over again. At first I thought it was stupid. I was like, why would I play the game twice? But then it's a kind of a different experience when you play it a second time and you have all this shit unlocked. Like all these abilities, and it's different when you're in there with all like your powers and stuff. And with the guns that you get. Because when New Game Plus you get the better guns and all this other stuff, so. So it's a whole separate experience, which I didn't know. Oh god damn it. But yeah, like Borderlands 2 is probably my favorite in the whole franchise. It's one of the games that has gotten me into. It's definitely one of the first to sort of differentiate itself and kind of make me branch off slightly. Because before then, I was just playing Call of Duty and stuff like that, like Halo, Call of Duty, just first-person shooters. And then after I played Borderlands, I was like, oh, I guess I was also playing Pokemon, but that's different because I mean, I was playing that since I was a kid. So that was just because I was a kid that got stuck on Pokemon and just kept playing it. So I think Pokemon helped with that as well, but Borderlands was like, because it was so familiar and you can just kind of move yourself past that just a little bit. It goes a little bit in this other direction. I kind of like move myself that way and kind of skewing me towards other games. But yeah, after Borderlands 2 was what everybody calls the garbage game, Borderlands pre-sequel. Which I think a lot of people like to shit on that game. Because I think just people like to shit on it. It wasn't the main developers of the Borderlands game, so people like to shit on it there too. And then it was all the Australian voice actors, but I think that was just because it's the moon or something. I don't think that's a. Do I jump? Oh yeah. But I think people give that game less credit than it deserves, because I think one controversial take that I have is that I prefer Borderlands pre-sequel over Borderlands 1 any day. I think a lot of people are gonna give me shit like, what? Borderlands pre-sequel or Borderlands 1? Dude, that game's garbage. The game isn't as bad as people really say it is. It's not the best. It's definitely not as great as Borderlands 2. But if they don't try their damnedest to get like a lot of the stuff in Borderlands 2, like if they don't try their hardest to get the same type of feel, I don't know. They do a lot, and then they bring back the aliens, which I think in Borderlands 2 were absent. They forgot the aliens were in Borderlands 1, which is one of the things that's like going back to Borderlands 1 from Borderlands 2. I'm like, there's aliens in this game? Where the fuck were they in Borderlands 2? So that's one thing about the franchise. It's a little bit inconsistent. Borderlands 2 is like literally the only game that I think that didn't have these iridiums, and if they did, maybe I didn't get far into the raids or something, because I definitely don't remember seeing any of these alien guys in that game. Could be wrong. I could be misremembering. It could be towards the end though, but I don't remember seeing them. Definitely not getting to the vault. But yeah, Borderlands pre-sequel I think was the one that takes place on the moon, and it's telling the origin story of Handsome Jack. And it tries to sort of show you how you can, a sort of way to have empathy for Handsome Jack, like his origin story, how he became evil or whatever. And it kind of works and kind of doesn't, because the heroes, the way they set up the heroes in the game makes them seem kind of shitty. And obviously heroes have to make bad decisions all the time for the greater good, but I don't know, it kind of makes like Lilith and Roland kind of seem a little bit worse than they were, just so you can empathize and make Handsome Jack be uplifting or whatever. But I mean, he still turns into a villain. It's just like they're trying to make you feel sorry for him, I guess. But the guy was still a little bit of a psycho throughout the beginning, so it's like, well, he was probably always going to be this way. And he was a corporation shill, so poor man was probably always going to be a psychotic killer. But yeah, they go through his origin. They give you the origin of some other villains like Wilhelm, What's his girlfriend's name? I don't remember what his girlfriend's name. The sheriff. They go through Toby, something like that. Handsome Jack's twin, who's I think a DLC. They show you this origin of Aurelia, just Hammerlock's sister, and then, and then I'm trying to think of the other characters. I know you can play as Claptrap in that game, which is I think is one of the best things about that game. Whether people like it or not, you can play as fucking Claptrap. And I think that's hilarious. And the game tells you, are you sure you want to play as Claptrap? Are you positive? You're playing as Claptrap. And I think that's hilarious. The game warns you not to pick the character. Not that he's terrible or anything, it's just, they're just doing it for the joke. Just to how the Brits and Australians would say, well probably not the Australians, but the Brits would say, taking a piss. So, oh god. But yeah, I mean, one thing, I gotta give them credit. The Borderlands pre-sequel introduced a lot of things that I enjoyed. Claptrap as a playable character, right? The cryo element, which comes back in this game. The cryo element comes back in this game because it is a good element. I think it is a great element to have been added to the franchise. The iridium sort of element comes back in this game, which I think was in... It actually might have been in Borderlands 2, not pre-sequel, but it comes back in this game as radiation. I could have sworn that was in Borderlands pre-sequel, but I could be wrong. Remember, I haven't played these games in a while. I just like look back at them. Borderlands 1 though, I can for sure. I've looked back at through videos, but pre-sequel introduced a lot of things that I think were interesting in a sense. Zero gravity, while people didn't like the Oz kits or the O2 kits, I think the zero gravity was cool. The boosting and stuff. The butt slam, which is back in this game. Like, it introduced things that in this game is brought back, and people who went from 2 to 3 and who are like, oh look at, they have all this cool stuff, butt slams, cryo element. They missed it all out in pre-sequel. Like, pre-sequel had all this stuff already. Like, Borderlands 3 added sliding. That's what they added sliming and wall grabbing. Like, the Borderlands 3 brought in some cool visuals, I guess. Like, the graphics look probably the best they've ever looked, but they didn't bring in all that stuff. That was pre-sequel that brought in the butt slams and the cryo and any guns that have lasers in them. Pre-sequel brought them. Pre-sequel brought a laser gun. I could be wrong because I didn't grind out for. I didn't really grind out for guns in Borderlands 2. Like I played it mainly for the story and then the new game plus, and I didn't play it. I didn't play it for hunting, which I got into later in pre-sequel. Once I got to pre-sequel, I got more into hunting, but I didn't do it in Borderlands 2 as much because I was already like, oh, I've played that game already. I can go past it. And Borderlands 3 is probably gonna come out at some point, so. So yeah, I didn't do as much hunting in Borderlands 2 as I probably should have. Alright, type where we going. But yeah, overall, Borderlands pre-sequel, I think that one gets a 6 out of 10. I mean, it's definitely not as good as Borderlands 2. I don't think any game has come to the status of Borderlands 2, which should give you a kind of depiction of what I think of Borderlands 3, but but like I think pre-sequel was trying its hardest to get close to that and kind of dropped its leg a little bit. It also was, that game was also frighteningly short. Borderlands pre-sequel was very, very short. I don't remember if it was as short as Borderlands 1. It might have been shorter, actually. And that's kind of what probably kills it a little bit. Um, but overall, I mean, I know what they were trying to go for, and they didn't succeed, but I want to say they got pretty close. Um, so yeah, now we move on from Borderlands pre-sequel to Borderlands 3. And the reason I'm leaving Tiny Tina out of this is because I haven't played it enough to sort of justifiably. I haven't beaten it, so I want to at least beat it before I give a proper rating on the game. But I mean, if you want a sort of rating based off of what I've played, it's all right. It's, I mean, I was hoping it would be better, but we'll see. Maybe I'm in a bad section of the game or something, but we'll see if it gets better as I go on. I'm going to tennis. But yes, the big head honcho right here, the game I'm currently playing, Borderlands 3. What do I think of this game? I can start with my overall rating, which is what I've been doing for, I think, most of these.
But it hasn't activated yet. Pandora is still opening. Maybe it needs a siren's touch. Touch it I shall. As the nihilist said on his deathbed, here goes nothing. I understand now.
Would you look at that?
Yeah, would you look at that?
You alright?
Yes! So much power! And I am the conduit!
Pandora's closing!
How would you know that?
It's working.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to put a stop to that.
Yeah, go ahead and try.
POV incoming! Ava, keep them off Tannis!
On it.
Alright, so, what is the rating I give for this game? I gave Borderlands 3, I gave Borderlands 2 a 9. I gave Borderlands pre-sequel a 6. I gave Borderlands 1 a 5. Which 5 for me is like a game I'll play it once, maybe enjoy it a little bit. But I might not play it ever again. If I do, it's probably just so I can finish something up. I don't know. It's alright. That's what 5 is. A 6 is, oh yeah, it's better. 9 is like one of the best games I've ever played, obviously. So, obviously, I enjoyed Borderlands 2 a lot. So, Borderlands 3. What is the Borderlands 3's final rating that I have for it? Borderlands 3 gets a solid 7 out of 10. This is the most... It's the most... I can say is a good game, I guess. It's the closest to that, I guess. And I think overall Borderlands 3 is a good game. It is trying very much trying to up its previous game by going bigger and introducing characters that have been introduced throughout the franchise and Tales of the Borderlands and things like that, and sort of tying everything together into one successful story. And I think it succeeds in at least telling a story that has been progressing through time. Like, it at least completes the arc in a, I would consider, a satisfying ending. I think it ends in a good way. It goes it completes the trilogy, at least, is what I want to say. I like how Return of the Jedi completes the trilogy. Like this, it completes the trilogy, and it does it respectfully and honors things that have come before it, and wraps everything nicely, pretty much. I mean, I think it does a very good job of, thank you. I think it does a really good job of completing the story. Now, that isn't to say that this game doesn't have issues, because it very much does have issues. It 100% has its own issues and its own things going against it. For one, I think this game, for some reason, is trying hard to drag itself. It's trying very desperately to stretch the story out for one final hurrah.
Hang on, Ava.
And maybe that's just the way they're doing it. Maybe they're pacing it a little bit weird. But I feel like this game is just trying to stretch the rest of it out.
Oh, this for me?
There's definitely a lot of things going on, a lot of action, and a lot of story elements. But overall, it just feels like this game is longer than it actually is.
Haven't we done this before, Lil? I'm over it.
Like I'm on episode what? This is episode 26. On the finale.
Go once and see how that turned out.
You scared old man! This is your fault! You kept us here when the universe should have been ours!
I gave you what I could.
I don't care! I'm gonna take what's mine!
I'm sorry, Starlight.
Yikes. Oof. Big oofs in chat. Damn, she really fucked everybody up. So, one other issue with this game that I have is the villains. Tyrene and Troy Calypso are definitely not as great as Handsome Jack.
Promise me something. Don't be the last Vault Hunters.
We won't.
Oh no, type in DeLeon.
He's gone. Pandora's gonna be ripped apart. If Tyrene reaches the destroyer, that'll be the least of our problems. We have to stop her. Typhon bought us our lives, but we're running out of last chances. Lilith, I may have a shortcut to where Tyrene went. This machine works across interstellar distances. Must be a way. Yes, I can use the connection to Pandora to form a portal. Killer, we'd be dead 1,000 times over if it wasn't for you. I've been telling myself I still belong to the front lines. A leader needs to know when to stand aside and let a soldier do their job. This is your fault. It worked.
Great.
It seems I can add time and space to the long list of things I have mastery over. It's time. The destroyer is escaping. You ready, Killer?
Oh, I'm ready.
Never run from a fight, Commander. Okay, this ends on Pandora. One way or the other. Head through the portal and find Tyrene. We'll see you on the other side.
Bet. Destroyer's Rift. The villains in this game are just not up to par with Handsome Jack, and that's sad to say because they have an interesting idea. It's an influencer sort of based killers. They're psychotic.
The destroyer is ripping the planet apart. You have to stop Tyrene. Pandora's always been a hellhole, but it's our hellhole, damn it. Even if Tyrene
And the idea is interesting, right?
Pandora, the Great Vault will continue to open. Let's worry about that when Tyrene is dead. One apocalypse at a time.
Right.
Norman, I got eyes on your fine ass from Sanctuary.
Hey.
Pandora's tearing itself a new one, but I ain't letting you fight that mega devil bitch alone.
All right, boys. Here we go.
Finally. Don't expect mercy, superfan. I'm not that kind of god.
Ugh. I forgot about this. Tyrene the Destroyer.
This is it, killer. Show her that gods can bleed.
Oh, this fight I like. I like this fight. This fight's pretty sick. There's definitely a pattern to this fight. But that's not neither here nor there, you know? But, yeah, the villains are interesting, but they're not as... I don't know, they're menacing. They definitely get menacing further and further, like Handsome Jack. It's just... I don't know, I guess they're trying too hard to make them, like, new age. Like, because they're trying to make them, like, influencers, they're trying to make them new age and sort of the way they speak, the way they do things, and it's sort of...
The eye on her back. That's your target.
It doesn't come across as great as they would like it to, I guess, is what I'm trying to say. God damn it. I can't remember how to do this. You climb up here. There you go. Oh, I was supposed to stay on the eye. Oh, but I can do this. Okay, cool. It doesn't come across as great as they would like it to. I'm not sure if there was a shift in screenwriters. Or screenwriters. I'm not sure if there was a change in script writers when they went from Borderlands 2 to 3. I would imagine there would be. If they kept the same scriptwriter, I'm not sure what happened, if he had less sort of control as to what was being told. Some of this stuff is very cool. A lot of things, the ideas that they come up with is very cool. It's just like the setup to it, or I guess the way you get to where you are is sort of, I don't know, it's not as great. They definitely come up with a lot of original ideas. I think a lot of cool things are in this game. But then you get instances like this where it is in a way a big boss battle, and it's cool. It looks cool. It is also relatively easy in some way. Like, even if I can, the terrible Borderlands player me can do it, then it's not.
There, that's your opening. Give her hell.
Like, it's not as difficult then for certain people. Like, they've definitely gotten rid of some of the sort of more difficult elements to create something that's a little bit more pattern-like, which isn't a terrible thing. I mean, there's patterns in a lot of games, even hard, difficult games. That's one thing that keeps it easy. Is if there's a pattern, you know that you can kind of eventually defeat something, right? So, I don't know. Oh God. I think Handsome Jack was just a difficult villain to sort of imitate or be better than. So they tried, and I give them credit for trying at least trying to do that. You know? Another thing, one of the worst parts about this game, I think, has got to be the sections, unfortunately, with Ava, who I think wasn't written as great as she could have been. I think they didn't write her. I don't know. They didn't write her as good as they should have. Like, she wasn't a fully fleshed out character like she should have been. She was just the annoying teenager. And I think that's all they did. Like, they didn't... I guess they didn't want to make any nuance or complex character. They just wanted to create, oh, what if we made an obnoxious teen character who gets unlimited power or something? They didn't I guess they didn't fully think it out like they should have, and it didn't come out right. She comes off obnoxious. Not like Tiny Tina, who Tiny Tina was fun and kind of crazy, but she was also complex because she has that whole backstory with her. And with Ava, you get the little mission, but she's still trying hard to be
Her back! You can climb her back!
super... She's still obnoxious in the way she is. And that's not to say that there aren't obnoxious people in the world, there obviously is. But when you're taking into account a character that's going to be replacing someone else, you have to make them likable, believable, and more human, more interesting. And I don't know what they did. I don't know what the scriptwriters thought. They just kind of dropped the ball with Ava. Because there's a lot of characters in this game that are great. Like, obviously you have all the original characters, and I guess the writers knew how to write those, but they brought a new character and they didn't know what they were doing. I don't know. Because the concept is interesting. It's a teenage girl who's an apprentice to a siren, who is going to become a siren. That's an interesting concept, and she is all alone. She's going to be she's taken in by this person, and it's a really interesting sort of thing. Oh, they gave me another gun. It's a bad idea.
You did it, killer. She's gone.
Oh, I get the vault.
Look at that.
But yeah, I'm not sure what had happened there, but you know, I'm sure someone define open things extra super crazy. Enjoy the mayhem. Oh, there's the mayhem thing. You know, I'm not sure what they were thinking, but I think they could have done Ava a little bit better. Here's to hoping that she gets better as the game, as the franchise progresses. Because they bring back all these other characters and they're fantastic, and to have a new character and then be kind of just fall flat is kind of sad, especially because of the concept that she's supposed to represent. Like, who she is interesting. This gun is worth 5,000. I'm taking that. So yeah, overall, I have gripes with this game. I think this game could have been better. I really hoped it would have been, but I do still like this game. I very much do enjoy this game a lot. Like, I think there's a lot of great things about this game. And I didn't play much of the DLCs. I did get to play some of Moxie's, but you know,
You did it! Tyrene's dead! For real this time.
I think there were things they could have fixed.
Died and turned to ash, so
And
give it a hard maybe.
here's to hoping that they will eventually
Powers back.
fix this and further entries in the franchise.
Long without them, I'd almost gotten used to it. Not gonna lie, it does feel good.
I'm wondering if I have to skip the credits. I might have to skip the credits. I'm hoping it doesn't happen in this cutscene. We'll see.
It's over. Not entirely. Great Vault is still opening. Elpis is tearing Pandora apart. How do we stop it? Very simple. We can't. Not unless you know a way to remove the moon from the sky.
towards the fire. Sanctuary's yours, Ava. Be ready.
Here it goes.
What does Lilith think she's doing?
Closing the Great Vault.
I think this is a satisfying end conclusion for this character. You play her in Borderlands 1. In Borderlands 2, she goes from being a
She knows.
person who doesn't want to lead to being now a leader willing to sacrifice herself for the sake of her crew, the world, the universe. And it's tragic. Like these are her guys right here. Brick and Mordecai were the people who were with her in Borderlands 1. Vaughn, I don't know, has barely any connection. Claptrap. Look, there goes Zero. And Reese. And Lorelei. Hammerlock and Wainwright. Hammerlock knew Lilith? No, wait. Hammerlock might have been introduced in Borderlands 2. Well, he knew Lilith though, but not like Borderlands 1. Tannis
Gone.
knew her from Borderlands 1.
She's lighting the way.
Look at that, the Firehawk. Mohawk. Firehawk? Fire Mohawk? Oh, the crown. Because she's the Queen Firehawk. Now I'm trying to see.
We should go back up to Sanctuary. See if there's anything she left us.
Sorry, I had to skip the credits. It doesn't even let you film the credits. That's interesting. Alright. Only reason is because they play That Girl Is on Fire by Alicia Keys. That girl is on fire. That girl is on fire. So it plays a whole copyrighted song in the credits. I just talked about. I think Borderlands 3 was the game I talked about the most. But I mean, fitting because this is the Borderlands 3 Let's Play, so makes sense.
We are in Lilith's quarters, Vault Hunter. Please bring me the vault key you retrieved from Tyreen.
Got it. Coming.
Recruit, you did it! You followed my instructions exactly and saved Pandora! Alright, Ava wants to talk to you. She's in Lilith's room.
I know, Claptrap.
I guess I was hoping Lilith would be here waiting for us. She's just gone.
Yeah.
Maya, she used to tell me stories about Lilith. When the two of them were fighting side by side. I miss them both.
Lilith had her own secrets back here. This chest is of Iridian design, but I have no idea where she might have gotten it. There's no external mechanism on it, but perhaps I can phase shift it open. Ah, so I can. Peculiar. Lilith must have intended for me to find this. That would mean...
Yikes. Let me see. Bonus damage. If I have downtime, real speed. Ooh. Nope. Compare. I think it's compare is what I wanted. Keep that for now. I'll go ahead and get rid of some of this stuff. I'm just going to drop this.
Nonetheless, there's there's another matter for us to discuss, Vault Hunter.
What is it?
It's over. You did it. How good does that feel?
Using my enormous intellect, I have sussed out the purpose of the artifact you discovered inside the vault.
Correct,
It is
correct.
an advanced Guardian mind core. I've created a neural adapter that will link it up with the ship's fast travel system. Please do so now.
Place
The
Iridian
Guardians
artifact.
used that mind core to improve their own
Combat AI by training in simulations of alternate, more chaotic universes. At least I believe they were simulations. It's unclear, but don't be too concerned. Any paradoxes or reality leaks should either resolve themselves, or we will all be obliterated before we can feel too much pain.
Yikes.
Not goodbye.
Sounds fun, doesn't it? I call it Mayhem Mode.
Yikes.
I've integrated it into our onboard fast travel map, so you can use it whenever you feel the call of mayhem. Enjoy.
That's basically their upgrade mode to make it harder. Yikes. Right, Belix. Tell them what's up. Alright. And that is all these story missions in Borderlands 3. That is every single story mission in Borderlands 3. I'm done with the game. 3 years later. I need a cake. Some sort of celebration. Thank you guys so much for sticking around and waiting 3 years for the end of this Let's Play. Look forward to more coming soon, because I don't intend on stopping now. I'm already done with this game. I plan on going the extra mile and going further. So thank you guys so much for watching. If you guys watched all the way through, make sure to leave a like down below if you guys enjoyed the whole series. And leave a comment on what games you guys want to see me play next. Subscribe so we can get my little numbies up. Get them numbies up. And hit that little notification bell, because people gotta hit the bells nowadays, so you can get notified when I drop my next video. I want to thank you guys so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next game. Peace. Oh God.